Yeah. So there's a long history in 20th century philosophy of science of investigating the possibility of something like an automated science or a formalized science or a algorithmically implemented science, all aspects of science, including sort of uncovering theory. Um, and this has been a rich tradition, but it's been strictly abstract about hypothetical machines and hypothetical algorithms and hypothetical forms of automation of scientific labor, right? And all of a sudden, sort of perhaps largely unanticipated by philosophers, we reach a point where, boom, deep learning revolution. And suddenly there is a kind of massive shift towards taking aspects of scientific discovery and passing them off to a intelligent computational system, right? And I think there's been kind of a tendency to continue to view that within the lens of this automation of scientific discovery debate as it's existed, without really attending to the details of how these technologies are in fact being implemented in scientific practice. And by the way, I think when what we are doing is collecting data from some system in the world and using some machine learning model to extract statistical patterns from that system in order to learn about that system, what we're doing is effectively science. It follows the model of science. So in fact, most applications of machine learning ought to be considered a kind of science adjacent activity. And in my opinion, held to the standards of good science. Now, I think that there's a lot of good work being done with machine learning in science. There's a lot of really epistemically careful work. And I think there's also, like with most things, a glut of garbage. Pick a genre of anything. I don't care if it's films or psychological studies or books on the history of hip hop or like whatever it
Or
is.
perhaps even people for that matter.
Yeah, most of
Garbage
it's
people.
crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a very small percentage of it that's quite good. Um, Machine learning is no different. There's a lot of good work being done and 1,000-fold more bad work being done. Um, the issue is that it's being adopted so rapidly. These methods are being adopted so rapidly in so many contexts across society. Most people don't understand how the technology works. There's a lot of AI hype. As long as there has been AI, there has been AI hype. And what hype is I think it should be made explicit that what hype is it's a targeted disinformation campaign. It
Okay,
is,
okay. Yeah, perhaps you could, elaborate on what you mean by that.
yeah, so AI hype refers to people when Sam Altman says we'll have AGI by X, or when Sam Altman says, well, GPT-3 could take a 20-minute activity and reduce it to a 5-minute activity, but GPT next will reduce a week-long activity to 5 minutes or something like that. That's AI hype.
Now, I saw a
Um,
recent statement by, I believe, anyway, I don't want to mention any names, that the next GPT model will be able to replace PhD researchers, and we won't need any PhD researchers anymore. So yeah, I mean, sure.
That's AI hype. Scientists and science popularizers saying the theorist will be replaced, the physicist will be replaced, the doctor will be replaced. People, in medical context, saying, "Oh, we won't need, we won't need secretaries or we won't need nurses anymore." Um, any of that genre, but it also includes the doomerism about AI, like soon AI will surpass human intelligence and it will, you know, hurt
Yeah,
us
that's
somehow.
the part which for me at least, feels a lot like science fiction, if I'm being honest. The doom and
Yeah.
yeah. There's something even, it's interesting to even
They're
cite
all a bit science fiction. I mean,
yeah. And I have nothing against, I love science fiction, but it's got its own status in our dialogue, right? I mean, science
yeah.
fiction, it's called fiction
But
for
saying that's some particular tech breakthrough is going to replace uh cardiologists even is absolutely. Will it, have some impact on the role of cardiologists and specifically how they approach analyzing the results of imaging, right? Totally. Is it going to replace cardiologists? No, that's science fiction, right?
and it
And so,
probably should, given all technology affects how we do our jobs, how we live our lives, and that's completely fine. It probably should affect how they
right,
do their job. Yeah.
if it works, it should.
That's
It
true.
doesn't work, it can't,
Yeah.
but if it works, it should have an impact. It's just that there's in anything that's, marketable, there's an incentive to misrepresent what it does. This is true of you can pull out a magazine from 1952 and how it advertises some cooking implement to stay-at-home moms. And it misrepresents, it's like, this is a life-changing, it's going to lie to you about what the thing does, right? But with AI specifically, I think there's to some extent even the average housewife in the 1950s was like, yeah, probably not all of this about the oven is actually the ground truth, whereas with AI, people seem to be willing to believe really radically untrue things, just things that are actually, to anyone in the know, blatant lies. But there's a culture of really leaning into highly fabulous lies, propagating them to no end. And no one seems to be doing fact checking. And the worst part to me is I would think that's in, so I'm coming from this position of history and philosophy of science, where it's like we've studied hundreds and hundreds of years of science and technology and how people misrepresent what it does and what it actually does, right? So we would, I would hope that we would have a critical lens on this. And it strikes me that there's a lot of philosophy that's simply parroting or lending kind of philosophical justification to these hype narratives that, deep learning will radically change the face of particle physics or something like that. It's like, really? Really though?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, perhaps this is a good place to go to. So